We got a new Paper Mario game coming out in, a week? There's something I've been wanting to talk about. What's wrong with Paper Mario fans? Currently, the fanbase is split like never before. Fans of the RPG-centric games in one corner, and fans of the newer game in the other corner, and plus, like a few people who like them all who are just kind of watching from the audience. I want to pose a simple question. What does it mean to be a Paper Mario fan? Before I answer that, we need to go through a brief history of the franchise because I believe the context of the Paper Mario fandom's mindset at the time of each release is necessary to understand what's happening now. Also, a quick disclaimer. Don't get discouraged if it seems like, at first, I'm focusing more on one side of the fanbase than the other. The intent is to cover both sides so we can create a better understanding of the Paper Mario community as it stands now. I'd encourage you to watch the whole video before assuming I'm biased in one way or the other. The original Paper Mario on the Nintendo 64 was an RPG game meant to act as a spiritual successor to Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo. The game was well received and got a sequel on the GameCube, The Thousand-Year Door. The Thousand-Year Door was met with overwhelming critical praise and is generally considered to be the gold standard for Paper Mario. Then, things began to change. The next game in the series, Super Paper Mario, took a drastic turn. While still retaining RPG elements, the turn-based battles were gone, shifting focus towards platforming more like a traditional Mario game. While critics gave the game decent to good reviews, the fandom was not so forgiving. But all was not lost. The game was called Super Paper Mario, not Paper Mario 3. It was just a spin-off, right? An experiment with some interesting mechanics, and somewhere down the road we'd get a new game more akin to the Thousand-Year Door. Yeah, that never happened. We first got a look at that new game during 2010's E3 conference, and everyone was relieved. Turn-based battles were back, partners were back, Mario moved around the overworld like he did in the past. It seemed like the return to form the fandom wanted. But then the game, now titled Paper Mario Sticker Star, was released. Yeah, it wasn't that at all. There were some shifts in design between those early screenshots and the finished product. Nearly all the RPG mechanics from the previous game were gone, along with partners, original characters, and a story. People were not happy. While Super wasn't the game fans wanted, it still had its admirers among the Paper Mario faithful, even when it was released. Sticker Star did not receive that kind of love. Fans felt betrayed. They had been led to believe that the game was returning to the roots of the series, but instead, the game, despite its aesthetics, was actually even more of a giant shift than Super was. Those feelings of abandonment and anger only continued with the announcement of the next game, Paper Mario Color Splash. From the looks of it, it was basically Sticker Star 2. However, when the game was released, it actually was somewhat decently well received by the fanbase. Of course, there was still a sect of hardcore Paper Mario fans that didn't like it, but there was the beginnings of a shift in the fandom. Color Splash was a good enough game in its own right that it began to rock the once steady foundations of what it meant to be a Paper Mario fan. That split in the fandom was fully realized when the trailer for the Origami King was released. While it did bring back some elements of the RPG-focused games, it was unquestionably more of a sequel to Sticker Star and Color Splash than the Thousand-Year Door. Another interesting thing to point out, with the release of the Origami King, the series is officially no longer RPG dominant. We've got 3 RPG games and 3 adventure/puzzle style games. Because of that, there's been a pretty dramatic difference in the online discourse surrounding the game series. It wasn't that long ago that the only real opinion you'd hear online would be about how the older games are better, and a yearning to return to that style. But right after the Origami King's trailer was dropped, there was a shift. Suddenly, fans of Sticker Star and Color Splash were coming out of the woodwork to profess their love for the game and to counteract the initially negative reception towards the Origami King by fans of the older games. Now, if you take a cursory look at several Paper Mario fan communities on the internet, fans of the newer games are represented at least as equally as fans of the older games. And if not equally, they've actually become the majority. Before the Origami King, being a Paper Mario fan generally meant you were a fan of the RPG-centric games. It was just unconsciously accepted. This led to an issue. Fans of Sticker Star and Color Splash felt neglected. Their voices weren't really represented within the community, and talk about favoring the new games over the older ones were generally not given the most positive reception. There were people who genuinely liked Color Splash and Sticker Star who felt like their opinions were being invalidated. Years of this was building up to a reckoning that ended up dramatically shifting the fan base. The Origami Kings trailer released and gave fans of the newer games a collective focus that had been lacking in the past. Turns out, a lot of people liked those new games, and they were tired of feeling like their thoughts and opinions as Paper Mario fans weren't being counted. Suddenly, people were getting for saying they liked the older games. Admissions of liking Sticker Star and Color Splash were getting praise. Arlo, the de facto voice of the Paper Mario fandom, was being dismissed in the very communities that gave him his following in the first place. Years of being criticized and overlooked boiled up and exploded, causing the newer fandom to ascend to dominance, like a usurper quietly waiting for their moment to seize the throne. The discourse within Paper Mario communities generally isn't even about the games anymore. Most discussion is about the state of the fandom, and debates are being lobbed back and forth about which side of the fan base are really the ones in the wrong. Why is this happening? The big answer is actually pretty simple. The Paper Mario community is a fan base made up of what is essentially two different series of games, and they're being asked to share a room. A consensus among the fandom might not even be possible because there's no cohesion within the Paper Mario series itself. Is there a solution? I'm not sure. But if there will be one, I think the fanbase has to come to an understanding on two different points. 1. It's okay to like the newer games. No one should be shamed and made to feel bad because they like a game. A lot of people's first games in the Paper Mario series have been with the newer ones, so of course they have a different view on the series as a whole. To some people, Paper Mario has never had a set formula. It's a series that constantly changes, so we should just roll with the punches and accept it. Imagine being someone who never played a Paper Mario game other than Color Splash. They want to talk about how much they like the game, only to be told that they're stupid for having that opinion in the first place. No wonder there's so much resentment right now towards fans of the older games. In the end, these are just video games. No one should be shamed because of their opinion on a video game. 2. It's okay to not like the direction the series is going in, even if those newer games are good. A common argument that gets thrown around is that the fanbase shouldn't get upset if a game isn't like 64 or the 1000-Year Door. Their concern should just be about whether the game is good in its own right. In theory, I totally get that argument. We should judge a game by its own merits and not be influenced by outside factors. But I think that argument, when it specifically applies to the Paper Mario series, is reductive. Yes, games like Color Splash may be considered good, but the quality of the game is irrelevant when we get down to the core of the problem. It is a fundamentally different game when compared to 64 and the 1000-Year Door. Let me put it this way. I love Dark Souls. I also love Mario Kart. But if From Software announced that Dark Souls 4 was going to be a wacky kart racer, I wouldn't be happy with that. It could be the best kart racer in the world, but it would never sit right with me because that's not why I played Dark Souls to begin with. I think that same argument can be applied to Paper Mario. It may seem like people are relentlessly on games like Sticker Star and Color Splash because they're, quote, not like the 1000-Year Door, but it's not as simple as that. The core formula, a formula that's been proven to work on its own, is different. And there's nothing wrong with being upset that a series that you love has fundamentally changed. So, back to my original question. What does it mean to be a Paper Mario fan? Unfortunately, for now, that's an answer that comes with asterisks. Are you a fan of the older games, the newer ones? Maybe you only like Super Paper Mario. Maybe you even like all of them. I hope, whatever people take away from this video, that we can all come with a little more understanding towards opinions and thoughts that we don't necessarily agree with. In the end, both sides of the Paper Mario fandom have to share a roof, and a more nuanced and constructive conversation surrounding the series can be beneficial for everyone. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want. And if this topic was a little bit too heavy for you, I have a video about video game violence and its portrayal in the media.